I knew my mother-in-law hated me. What I did not know was that she would spend nearly a year trying to prove my daughter was not my husband's child, only to uncover a secret that destroyed her own life instead. The first warning signs seemed harmless at first. My daughter Emma had bright copper-red curls, freckles across her nose, and a smile that could light up an entire room. She looked different from most members of my husband's wealthy family, but I never imagined that would become a problem. Then the comments started. My mother-in-law, Diane Walker, would stare at Emma during family gatherings and make strange observations disguised as jokes. She would run her fingers through Emma's curls and say things like, "Nobody in our family has hair like this." Every time she spoke, there was an uncomfortable pause afterward, as if she was waiting for someone else to finish the accusation she was too careful to say out loud. At first, I ignored it. I believed she would eventually get over whatever insecurity she was carrying around. Unfortunately, she only became more obsessed. My husband, Ryan, was the kind of man who always looked for peace. He loved his family and hated conflict. Whenever I mentioned Diane's behavior, he brushed it aside and insisted she meant no harm. He thought she was simply adjusting to being a grandmother. I wanted to believe him. Then his sister, Ashley, joined the campaign. One afternoon, she posted a photo of Emma on social media. Underneath the picture, she wrote a caption asking where those famous red curls had come from. It looked innocent on the surface, but the implication was obvious. Hundreds of relatives and family friends began commenting. Some laughed. Some asked questions. Others hinted that genetics could be surprising. The damage was immediate. Family members who once greeted me warmly suddenly became distant. Conversations stopped when I entered rooms. Invitations became less frequent. During holidays, I noticed people watching me with curious expressions, as if they were trying to solve a mystery. Someone was feeding them a story, and I knew exactly who it was. Over the next several months, Diane quietly spread doubt through the family. She never accused me directly. Instead, she relied on whispers, suggestions, and carefully chosen comments that allowed other people to draw their own conclusions. As an occupational therapist, I spent my days observing behavior. My work required attention to tiny details that most people missed. The more I watched Diane, the more I realized this was not random suspicion. This was a deliberate campaign. I began documenting everything, every strange comment, every social media post, every interaction that felt designed to undermine me. I had no idea how valuable those notes would become. The situation exploded during Easter dinner. The entire family gathered at Diane's house. Halfway through the meal, she looked directly at Emma and then at me. Her smile was polite, her eyes were not. She made another remark about genetics, family traits, and how truth always finds its way to the surface. Several relatives shifted uncomfortably. In their seats, I felt humiliated, but I stayed calm. What Diane did not know was that her obsession was about to expose something far bigger than anything she imagined. 3 weeks after Easter, I received a phone call at work. The representative on the other end introduced herself from a genetic testing company. She wanted to verify parental authorization for a DNA profile, submitted under Emma's name. For a moment, I could not even speak. Then my stomach dropped. Immediately informed them that no consent had been given. The representative froze and explained that the test had been submitted by Emma's grandmother. I ended the call and sat silently in my office. Diane had secretly collected my daughter's DNA. She had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Instead of confronting her immediately, I contacted a family attorney named Lauren Brooks. After reviewing the situation, Lauren confirmed that Diane's actions could carry serious legal consequences. Then she gave me advice that changed everything. Do not warn her. Let her keep talking. Let her think she is winning. So I did. While Diane continued her crusade, I started investigating. My research eventually led me to an online ancestry database. Unlike regulated medical testing companies, these websites allowed users to upload DNA information and search for relatives. After several days of digging, I discovered that Diane had secretly created an account using Emma's information. The moment I accessed the profile, everything changed. A close family match appeared on the screen. The system identified a man named Michael Reed living in Oregon. According to the data, Michael was Emma's biological half-uncle. I stared at the screen in disbelief. That result made absolutely no sense. Ryan did not have a brother. At least, not one anyone knew about. I spent the next week researching Michael. Public records revealed he had been born in Connecticut decades earlier and placed for adoption shortly after birth. The timeline was impossible to ignore. Michael had been born 2 years before. Diane married my father-in-law, Richard. My pulse raced as the pieces clicked together. Diane had a secret child, and she had spent 35 years hiding him from everyone. Suddenly, her obsession with Emma's red hair made perfect sense. She was terrified, not of my supposed affair, of her own past. The truth sat buried beneath decades of lies, and my daughter's appearance threatened to uncover it. The final confrontation arrived sooner than expected. One Sunday afternoon, the entire family gathered for dinner at Diane's house. The atmosphere felt strange from the moment we arrived. Ashley barely touched her food. An older aunt looked pale and nervous. Diane, meanwhile, seemed unusually confident. Halfway through dinner, she stood up and walked into the hallway. When she returned, she was carrying a large manila envelope. Your heart started pounding. This was it. She placed the envelope directly in front of Ryan and announced that the family deserved to know the truth once and for all. The room fell silent. Ryan opened the package. Inside was a paternity test. Everyone leaned forward. Diane's smile widened as he turned through the pages. Then something unexpected happened. His expression never changed to shock. Instead, he looked confused. Page after page confirmed what I already knew. Ryan was Emma's biological father with virtually absolute certainty. The silence that followed was almost painful. Diane's confidence evaporated. She began mumbling about laboratory mistakes and faulty procedures. Before she could continue, I stood up. I calmly explained that I had known about her unauthorized testing for weeks and that my attorney was already reviewing her actions. For the first time all evening, genuine fear appeared in her eyes. Then I directed Ryan to another section of the report. There, among the family matches, was the name Michael Reed. Ryan read it aloud. The room froze. He asked the obvious question, "Who is Michael?" Nobody answered. A few seconds later, Diane's sister buried her face in her hands. Then she stood up. "Please stop lying," she said. The entire room turned toward Diane. Years of secrets collapsed in an instant. Through tears, Diane finally confessed. Before meeting Richard, she had given birth to a son. She was young, scared, and convinced adoption was the only option. Afterward, she buried the memory and never told anyone. Not her husband, not her children, no one. The room exploded with emotion. Richard looked devastated. Ryan sat speechless. Ashley began crying. Then came the final twist. Ryan pulled up an old photograph he had found years earlier while sorting family albums. The picture showed Diane as a teenager, and there, impossible to miss, were the same bright red curls she had spent decades hiding beneath brown hair dye. Every accusation she had directed at my daughter suddenly revealed its true source. Emma looked like Diane. The resemblance had terrified her. She knew those curls could eventually lead someone to questions she never wanted answered. The woman who spent years trying to prove I was a liar had been protecting her own lie all along. Richard stood up quietly. His voice was calm but cold. He said he could forgive mistakes made by a frightened young woman. What he could not forgive was 35 years of deception. Then he walked out. Diane broke down completely. For the first time, nobody rushed to comfort her. Nobody defended her. Nobody believed her excuses. Ryan went upstairs, picked up our sleeping daughter, and carried her out of the house. As we drove home, he reached for my hand. He apologized for not seeing the truth sooner. He thanked me for staying strong when everyone else doubted me, and he promised that things would never be the same again. He was right. The months that followed, lawyers became involved. Formal warnings were issued. Boundaries were established. Family relationships shifted in ways that could never be reversed. The biggest change came when Ryan contacted Michael. Their first video call lasted nearly 3 hours. Two brothers who never knew each other existed sat together staring at faces that looked remarkably alike. Both men, cried, neither tried to hide it. Years of separation vanished in a single conversation. 6 months later, our backyard was full of laughter. Michael visited with his wife and daughter. Emma ran through sprinklers with her newly discovered cousin while Ryan and Michael sat side by side talking about everything they had missed. Watching them together felt like witnessing a family healing itself. As for Diane, she eventually accepted the consequences of her choices. She was allowed limited contact with Emma under strict boundaries. The control she once exercised over everyone around her was gone. The irony was impossible to ignore. She had built an elaborate trap designed to destroy me. Instead, it exposed the truth she had spent decades hiding. And in the end, the little girl she tried to use as a weapon became the reason an entire family finally found the truth, found each other, and found the freedom to start over.